Wolfpack is a little old place where we can get together. What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. As always, I'm Nate. Joining me, my brother, is Zach.
What up?
And we are reading Clash of Kings.
Clash of Kings. There is a clashada of Congos.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that.
I
If you've joined us before, thank you for coming back, regardless of what you just heard Zach do.
Mm-hmm.
If you are just joining us, thank you for staying as long as you have, even though you just heard Zach do what Zach just did. If you are new, we are full spoiler. So be warned, if you don't like spoilers, now's the chance to get out before we tell you the red wedding.
There was enough room on the
TV
door,
occurs.
but Rose lets him die anyway.
Can we still spoil Titanic? Is that a thing?
I'm sure there's someone out there who will one day be like, yo, fuck these guys. They spoiled Titanic. I'm done with
I don't
this
think
shit.
that it's even considered spoiling at this point. It's been out for 20 years?
Well, I mean, don't at me, but there was enough room on the door.
Well, obviously there was enough
just
room.
A straight up bitch. That'll be our next Patreon episode. Is our Titanic watching. We just talk about how Rose is a bitch.
That's all we need. But of all spoilers, you go with fucking Titanic. Anyway, last episode
we've done fucking Darth Vader's Luke's father as a spoiler.
Yeah, but it's still not Titanic.
But who the fuck doesn't know I am your father?
Valid. Okay.
So, yeah.
Anyway, last episode. We read Tyrion 2, where he started toying around with things in King's Landing.
We're in some of my favorite chapters of Tyrion, because Tyrion is at his best here. He's playing the game, and as we learn, he is very Ned Stark, and that's the fun comparison we're getting in a Clash of Kings. He's following Ned Stark's journey almost exactly when he arrived at the city versus when Ned Stark arrived at the city. And they are similar men as far as morals to a degree.
Absolutely.
To a degree. Tyrion, at this point, even though we've talked about how villainy may be a thing in his future, at this point he's a pretty moral guy, and he mainly just wants the city fed and restored.
See, it's cool because right now we're seeing the rise to his high point before he hits that fall and that descent
at the end of this book,
and
where
into
he
dance
just,
when things just get sour.
And so right now he's meting out justice, and I mean we're behind him because it's people like Janos Slynt who betrayed Ned Stark, and right now, and it's so cleverly done, because right now Tyrion's really just doing it to cover himself.
Well, it's really funny, though, because even I think in my first read-through, we start kind of rallying behind him, when in the book before, according to Cat, he was a villain. He was he crushed the Harpist's fucking fingers. He was a bad dude.
But that's it. And then into Clash of Kings,
behind him. We're like,
he's coming in on a power trip. In Sansa's first chapter, we see him arriving, and then he's kind to Sansa, kind to the children, Joffrey, Tommen and Marcella. He's a dick to Joffrey, but that's another reason why we like him.
And he's a badass when dealing with Janos Slynt
and Cersei. He handles them both deftly. So yeah, Tyrion's riding a high right now, and it's really dope to see. But
anyway,
we're going into Arya 3.
Yeah, we're reading Arya 3.
Arya we had left on the road after her and the Brothers of the Night's Watch, the boys who are going to the Night's Watch with Yoren.
The new recruits
are on their way north, and they got caught up by some Gold Cloaks. Arya freaked out thinking that they were there for her, but they were there for Gendry, because as we know, Gendry is one of Robert Baratheon's bastards.
But nobody else here knows that. Only us as the readers.
Yoren was having none of it, and he basically said, I can kill you all right here, or you can leave and go back and tell him you didn't find no boy. And they said, we'll be coming back for your head and the boy, yada, yada, yada. So Yoren said, we need to get a fucking move on. And
they did. And
so I really like this Arya chapter. This Arya chapter is very simple, very straightforward.
There's a lot to kind of digest in it.
The thing I came to the conclusion of with this Arya chapter, and I actually even though we have our normal notes, I'm probably going to jump around a lot this chapter and not really go in the normal form we do, where we go straight through, because to me this Arya chapter is meant to be a reflection of what's happening. We pretty quickly on get mentioned that we are near the God's Eye now.
Yeah,
like, here's the location we are, and here is what has happened with Tywin setting his men loose on the countryside.
Yeah.
This is the effects of the war. This is the burning and the pillaging that's affecting it. And this is how we're shown the small folks' view is through Arya. This is what's happening to these little tiny farms and villages, and we get the brutal arrival at that one village.
Think, this chapter is kind of also, for me anyway, in a lot of the Arya chapters we've gotten, they're very, I suppose the best word is fantastical. They're fantasy. They're very heavy based in some, like, and she's this strong, badass girl. She wants to fight Gendry. She wants to spar. She wants to do those things. This one's a very humanizing chapter.
Yeah, this one's very grounding.
It really, again, and granted, Martin also puts in a quote about it, but it shows that she is just a scared little girl. Mm-hmm. She's not this hardened, trained, badass warrior. She is in her own right, I mean, to be doing what she's doing.
But she's still a child and experiencing quite a few trauma after trauma. So at this point in their traveling, the path is narrowed significantly, meaning that there's very few people around, and which is a good thing for them because there's no one to say which direction they're going in. But it also means that their pace has slowed significantly, and it's noted that Arya hates it. She hates how slow they're moving each day, and I think it's such an interesting contrast because on her way south, she loved it. I'm
glad you mentioned that because I really thought about
pace.
It was driving her crazy, and she wasn't liking a lot of it because she's been, ever since they started running from the Gold Cloaks, she's checking over her shoulder constantly, and so she's kind of got that paranoia, obviously driving her. But that's what I thought too, was like, this countryside, this trip, like, she loved doing this journey on the way down.
And now they're taking a different route back north.
And it's almost funny because we were just actually talking about how early on we're getting so many Arya chapters. But in reality, I think it was very similar in Game of Thrones, where we got a lot of Arya chapters with the journey south. And now we're kind of getting that reverse early on in Clash. But it says after they're because it really just goes in. He's very exposition heavy in this, explaining the settings, and so there's a point where it says that she wakes up every night at this point, even with them setting up sentries, that she wakes up every night clutching needle because they've got sentries, but they have Lamy and Hopai and all these other people that are just recruits standing watch. And she even mentioned she sneaks past them every fucking night when she has to go to the bathroom without any of them spotting.
Well, because, I mean, in keeping it in the fiction here, Arya's supposed to be a boy to everyone around her. Right. And so she's supposed to just be, pull your cock out, have a piss against the tree. It's normal for, like, a group of men like that. Just go take a piss in front of everybody.
Right,
no one cares. Not a big deal. But for Arya, obviously, she can't do that, so she has to hold her piss in and then sneak past these sentries, which that's sort of the important point here, is that she does it with ease. Yes, she's trained and she's good. We get that Syrio taught her well, but she's still learning. But she is so easily able to just...
Yeah, because there's even a point where she's up in the trees directly above Lamy, and god damn it, if she didn't have the logic to not, I would have loved nothing more. I'm going to stop right here because Zach just spilled his soda all over his notebook, and it is the most wonderful thing ever.
We're not supposed to acknowledge it.
Anyway,
damn it.
I love it, but I hate that I did not get to see her just drop down and make Lamy screech like a little girl.
We see sort of her growth because she thinks that, she could have dropped down right above him, and she would have. However, his screams would have woken the camp, and Yoren would have given her the stick again. She's taking the lesson that she learned the first time, and she knows, Lamy isn't prepared for that. I'm much cleverer, more capable than him. If I just drop on this kid, he's gonna fucking
lose his fucking mind. And that's what I think that's why I wish it could happen in some world, because that sounds like the funniest fucking thing ever.
But I was really thinking about that fucking headspace that she's in, where, each night she wakes up to any little noise, grabbing Needle's hilt, thinking there's gonna be Gold Cloaks. That's such a terrifying state of existence to be in.
Well, and that's what makes that in particular to me so depressing, the jumping down on him thing. That's just something a kid wants to do.
She just wants to have fun.
She just wants to play and
But she can't.
Even though she beat the shit out of these kids, like, she's befriending them.
Yeah,
and
they
she just
slowly
wants to have that. She just wants to do what kids do. But yeah, she can't because they might die.
And I really like it that she just describes it when she was sneaking out and climbing the tree for Lamy. She describes it as when she was being quiet as a shadow, she could sneak past them all, flitting out by the starlight to make her water beyond the tree line. Like,
yeah, still keeping those mantras in her
Still
head.
keeping that, when she was quiet as a shadow. It's just that, when she was being quiet as a shadow. It's not when she was practicing. It was when she was just being quiet as a shadow, when she's being fierce as a Wolverine, those type of things. And the starlight, I don't know why starlight seems significant to me in this reread, knowing that Quaithe has the mask of starlight. The Dothraki believe everything of significance happens beneath starlight.
I think you're reaching.
I definitely do as well.
Anyway, so at this point she mentions that everybody is completely obsessed with Gendry. Now that they found out that the queen's after him,
Gendry's the GOAT.
They think he's something special,
Yo.
man. They're like, yeah, and he's like, yo, I didn't do...
I don't want it.
Basically,
I don't want it.
He didn't do nothing to no queen. I was an armorer. I was chilling. And then Master Mont was like, you're going to the wall, bro.
I've been debating since I started doing these Arya notes whether or not I was going to bring this next part up because I know you're going to give me shit for it. But just in the essence of trying to be as analytical as possible, this next part, when Gendry is being presented as someone special to Lamy and all the other orphan boys, and he's denying it, this next part came off as extremely sexual to me. Because it says he would deny it, and then he would go polish his helm. This beautiful helm with two long horns that he would continuously polish until it was at a glittering sheen with the slit in the the
So
language of
that,
it sounds masturbatory.
Do you
to
think
me.
that's just it?
I
Like,
think
it's
it's Arya's. I really do think this is Arya's sort of growing into her puberty, and seeing him for the first time in a sexual manner. And
well, do you think it's almost just her idea of how she's seeing him in that sexual way? Like him polishing it is as...
Well, I'll read it. It says, then he'd go off to polish his helm. It was a beautiful helm, rounded and curved, with a slit visor and two great metal bull's horns. Arya would watch him polish the metal with an oilcloth, shining it so bright you could see the flames of the cook fire reflected in the steel. Yet he never actually put it on his head. I don't know, but it just seemed like a masturbatory thing to me, of the polishing of this, and like the slit in the visor. It just seemed very sexual language, and so I think this is Arya for the first time seeing him. I think it's the fact that all these other boys are looking up to him. She has kind of separated herself out as being someone that the Gold Cloaks and the Queen want. Now Gendry is kind of there as well. So I think this is the first time she's looking at him in that mood. Yeah. Whereas before, and I had noted it and you laughed at me, that Gendry came out like all glistening from the bath. And she didn't give a fuck. But here,
now she's kind
that paragraph felt so sexual.
See, I think I can see where you're going with it. I don't think it's intended to be that sexualized, but I do think it is intended for that purpose that you're saying.
Well,
that,
I laughed out loud at first
guy,
when I know, he went to polish his helm. I was
so
like,
I kind of chuckled. I had seen more in the reflection of the fire in the steel, just as with Gendry's.
Well, that's it. Fire can also be passion, and
and so because I had immediately thought of Melisandre with that, but like looking at it, it almost does to me seem more like she sees this strong, young, strapping lad polishing his knob,
polishing his horn,
and she's just like, God damn.
She's enthralled by it, yeah.
Because
at this point we know Gendry is handsome. He's a Baratheon. He's got that, and Robert was fucking the be-all, end-all of godly, chiseled men. And so Gendry's a fucking handsome lad.
Know. We saw him in a towel. Just dripping.
He's a handsome dude. And so I think that with him now kind of put in this special place, this special pedestal,
because my note here was, then he would polish his helm.
But I think it's important and significant that at the end it says, yet he would never put it on. Meaning he's not recognizing Arya's, sort of blossoming... I believe this is her starting to enter puberty and starting to see men her age or around her age in a different light.
That's
and
not
so
crazy.
I think it's significant for Arya's growth mainly, not just because George's books are super, some people say over-sexualized, but I believe that's significant to the time frame here.
Yeah,
Arya is
her
beginning
age
beginning
showing us
to
her journey
she's beginning to hit womanhood in very early stages.
Yeah, which is where they started.
So
but...
Lamy says
Yes.
that he thinks that Gendry is probably that traitor's bastard. And he says it quietly, so Gendry wouldn't hear.
Wolf Lord whose head they nicked on Baela's steps.
He is not, Arya declared, thinking that Eddard Stark had only one bastard.
She didn't say Eddard Stark. She said my father,
my father.
in her head, obviously. And I just think that was very, like, of all people for him to compare him to, I think that falls into what you're saying there. Because she's kind of got this attracted to him thing.
But Gendry is he's Robert's bastard.
But
that's
she
the
doesn't
beauty
even,
of it.
like,
Yeah.
And so I think that it very much is the, like, he is a bastard, but comparing him to Jon, like, she's like, no, don't you, like, I would never want to watch Jon polish his helm.
Like, valid.
And that's where
that actually does make sense.
And so,
coming
like,
from it from this,
it very much like I'm attracted to him. Don't compare him to my brother.
Yeah, because I actually was thinking that she almost gets too angry here over that, but seeing it now,
no, it's not Jon.
It's not Jon.
I wouldn't be turned on by Jon.
I mean, she's
it's around world, but
I wouldn't be looking at
It's
Jon.
been like
2 years. We've learned that Jon's been at the
right.
wall,
and so I think she was 8 in Game of Thrones. So she's 10, almost 11. She's definitely hitting her puberty stages.
Girls start developing very, very early compared to boys. So
I feel that it's her attractedness to Gendry.
Jon is my brother.
And then saying,
like,
he's not like Jon at all.
Because she stalks off, wishing that she could just saddle up a horse and ride for home because she was a good rider. She thinks of her old faithful chestnut back home that she used to ride and how she could just take off, but then she would be alone and she'd be running from the Gold Cloaks on her own.
And she wouldn't have the sentries out there, and she wouldn't have Yorn to protect her.
Or anybody. So she decides that it's probably safer to stick with Yorn and the others.
Yeah, so basically it's a lot of hard travel and everything. But one day Yorn does announce that they're approaching the God's Eye, and that he thinks it'd be best for them to detour to the western shore because the Gold Cloaks wouldn't likely expect that they'll go that way.
Yeah, they've got to get across the Trident before they can expect to be safe again. Yeah, so he wants to stealth it as much as possible.
Yeah, so they make a western turn at the next fork that they get to, and that's when the terrain starts really getting spread out. The villages are split. It's all dense woods and farmland. Like there's nothing out.
Yeah,
here.
And as the villages, holdfasts, and farmlands became scarce, so did the food. All the food that Yorn had bought in the city, and so each day he would send out Koss and Kurz, who had been taken as poachers, and they would return with the deer strung between them or some pheasants on their belt. Yeah, they got 2 poachers. And the young boys were expected to pick berries along their way, and should they happen upon an orchard, fill as many sacks with apples as they could. Arya was a skilled climber and a fast picker. A skilled climber. Interesting. Bran.
Like Bran,
yeah.
Which
and,
isn't, I mean, she...
No, yeah. She's because
she was exploring out there in the Riverlands when they were going through down on the way south, and she would always have bruises and stuff, obviously.
But that's just climbing, could you imagine and this is just a fun what if they pop, but Bran and Arya switching positions
That'd
here.
Be wild.
It's Bran on his way north with Yoren, and Arya stuck up at Winterfell. Just obviously she wouldn't be in charge. It'd probably be more Lewin or Rickon. But
with Lewin,
it would just be interesting because Bran, would be
it.
all about this, climbing up apple trees and filling a sack for the Night's Watch.
I mean, because trying to put it into place, like I can't see what would happen in King's Landing.
Well,
it's crazy.
But she also liked to go off by herself.
But yeah, so she manages one day to catch a rabbit while she's out there.
Again, I think this is significant for the growth of her training.
Yeah, so rabbits are faster than cats.
But they can't climb worth a damn.
And so I agree. This is very much just the next level. It's her without even realizing.
I feel like here there was some stuff left out because she says that they couldn't climb worth a damn. Did she get the jump on it by climbing from a tree like she did with Lamy? Kind of what I was getting.
See, I didn't understand it either because it says that they can't. I think it's just mainly saying that when she was chasing the cats, the cats could jump up walls, get up fences, go over this stuff. All she's got
to do is
with these
chase
guys,
this
they
thing.
can't run. She just has to fucking run and throw something at them, and that's it.
Well, they're quicker than cats, though, she says. So, like, I don't know. Like, it almost just makes it seem like she jumped out, like,
I think
from
it's her showing how much faster she's gotten, her reflexes, her reactions.
But yeah, she whacked it with her stick, grabbed it between the ears, and Jorn stewed it up that night with some onions. Mushrooms. And Arya was given a whole leg since it was her rabbit. Yeah. And she shared it with Gendry.
Yeah. So, once again, now everybody got some of the stew,
Everybody got a little bit.
And she even got a thank you for the treat from a one Jaqen Hagar. The other two cocksuckers in there just kind of...
Yeah, Biter was too busy licking the grease, but Rorge had mocked her. "There's a hunter now," he said. "Lumpy rabbit killer." Which I've made it a point to any name or title that Arya is given. So Lumpy Rabbit Killer, Lumpy Head Rabbit Killer.
Because it was a 3-title name.
Well, he says Lumpy Head and then Lumpy Head Rabbit Killer.
Lumpy Head Rabbit Killer.
Yeah, that's...
I get you.
Yeah.
That's why.
And so Lumpy Head Rabbit Killer. And yeah, again, I think that's just significant of her growth, that she has now moved on from...
Lumpy face, lumpy head.
Oh, lumpy face, lumpy
there was
head.
An extra. There was a third title.
Lumpy face, lumpy head, rabbit killer.
Anyway.
And so yeah, I just think it's a significant mark of Arya's training, where she's moved past the cats to now wild animals.
Well, so that's
she can feed herself now.
It's
on rabbit.
It's just, and like you said, it's just the next step in her training. It's the next level, really.
Whereas in the King's Landing, when she was wandering around,
she could still eat.
She was eating like pigeon.
Oh,
shit.
You mean
like,
back that?
Yeah,
point.
when she was when she was wandering around, like.
But it was still available to trade, and like she could do certain.
No one was trading
the stew in the
right now at where she's at with the Night's Watch here. Arya can kill a rabbit. And
well, that's what I'm saying.
Provide
it's like
dinner.
She learned to catch the cats, which then led to her having to catch pigeons to cook and
survive.
Eat, which she could trade, and there was some food available. She had to steal there, but like she had to kill some stuff to get it. Now she has no choice. Like at least there were some other options there. No more options.
So
like catch or die.
They were outside a holdfast called Briarwhite when some field hands had surrounded them, demanding coin for the ears of corn that they had taken. Jorn eyed them in their sides and decided to give them a few coppers, and says, "Time was a man in black was feasted from dawn to Winterfell, and even the High Lords called it an honor to shelter him for the evening. Now cravens like you want hard coin for a bite of a wormy apple."
Okay, boomer. I love Jorn for this, and like I definitely, it's a different world, man.
I hate you.
But man, that's the only thing I could think of was they're like, "Hey man, we worked hard to grow this shit. You can't just steal it."
No, they become straight up cunts because they say it's sweet corn and it's better than an old crow like you would ever deserve.
And I am absolutely 100% on Jorn's side, but it's more that he just comes in like, back in my day when I first started, we could go anywhere.
I literally think we've gotten an okay boomer in every episode since the meme has become prevalent, and I'm okay with that.
Anyway, no, I don't think Jorn's a boomer at all, and they were fucking assholes.
The farmers tell him to get the fuck out of there before they string them up and put them up to scare away the other crows that may come calling. And so that night they roasted the sweet corn in their husks, and Arya thought it was just delicious.
I want some sweet corn on a husk.
It does sound dope. But Jorn was much too angry to eat. A cloud seemed to hang over him, ragged and black as his cloak, and he paced restlessly, muttering to himself, chewing his sour leaf.
So I think that's just him being very concerned after all the time he's spent doing what he's doing. This is the first time, not just you're not eating, but like that he's just being straight up disrespected as a Night's Watch member, like in general. And so he's like, what the fuck? We're fucked. Like this war is causing everything to be fucked.
And so the next day, Koss had raced back to Jorn, warning him of a camp up ahead, 20 or 30 men in mail and half-helms, though most of them seem to be pretty cut up. And they only have one mount among them.
And it's a lame horse.
And yeah, it's
jacked up.
And it's a lame horse. And so Jorn asks if he saw a banner.
Yeah, and the banner is a spotted tree cat, yellow and black on a mud-brown field. And Jorn doesn't recognize it. However, this house is House Myatt. And Jorn made the absolute best decision he could when he decided to skirt around these guys. Because House Myatt is a house of the Westerlands, a noble house, and bannerman to Casterly Rock.
Yeah.
And, like, they don't play any significant role in anything whatsoever. The only time you really hear about that house is them going unnamed here. Then they show up at one point to escort, I think, Tywin's body back to Casterly Rock. There's another person, some representative of the house that's there.
So, this was a wise decision by Yoren to skirt them.
Exactly. Because, granted, they may be not fighting for Tywin, but likely that
well, I mean, they seem to have engaged in some sort of conflict recently. So.
And they're still alive, so they've probably technically won, even though they're pretty beat up, but they probably are for Tywin. And so if they found out, well, granted, they might not be bothering Cersei, on Cersei's orders, so they won't care about Gendry and shit. Yeah. But who knows who they would be, because they're technically all supposed to be there just to put the torch to the land, according to Tywin.
Yeah, they're just ravaging and pillaging.
It's not...
Yoren doesn't know the banner, decides to avoid them, and decides to go around. The going around costs them 2 days' travel, but Yoren is pretty chill about it, laughing, saying, like, you're going to have your whole lives up at the wall, so I don't see no reason to be rushing to it too quickly. And so... Arya, at this point, on their way north, begins seeing more men guarding fields as they
fields and all the houses north. They pass, anything is just being heavily guarded.
And as they pass one guy who's in a tree with an arrow notched as they pass, watching them until the last wagon goes by, Yoren curses him and says, let us see how he likes it up there when the others come to take him. He'll scream for the watch then, he will.
So I have some questions now. Between... that house there that they just skirted for a few days, plus all these heavily guarded men. Do you think that any of these are Dondarrion's men? Do you think that potentially that's one of Dondarrion's deaths right there? They said there was one person dying there. Maybe it was one person resurrecting. Granted, they probably would have seen the Red Priest and mentioned that, so I doubt that's that. But, like, could this be, is it Lem that fucking is the archer?
Well, I
think
that's the whole entirety of this is... who the fuck are these people? Like, are they friend or foe? We don't know. We know clearly House Myatt is Lannister, but who is this guy in the tree? Is he a Brotherhood Without Banners member?
Is he just a farmhand that knows how to use a bow?
Who's just protecting his crop? Right. Is he just what? And that's the whole beauty of it.
It's paranoia central.
It's paranoia.
Nobody knows who's who.
You can't trust anyone, and so a day later, they had spotted a large fire up ahead of them. Dobber did. Yeah. Seeming as if the whole north was ablaze, but the wind was keeping it from approaching them. By dawn, it had burned itself out, and it was midday when
Do you think that phrase, especially in an Arya chapter, is kind of her... just dread almost, like that she feels like she'll never make it home, like it doesn't exist, the whole north is burning, like...
Yeah, I think it's just her perspective. Like, she's never seen a fire that big, so she's never seen a town razed or a city sacked or butchered, so a whole little village burning, I'm sure, would seem like the whole world is on fire. And they arrived at the village, where the village had been. Smoke still rising from the charred building, animal carcasses burned and scorched, dotting the ground, just covered with carrion crawlers. And Arya saw bodies on spikes lining the walls with their hands drawn up in front of their faces as if to shield from the flames.
So it sounds like they were spiked up there and then lit on fire.
Yeah. So Yoren bids Arya and the other orphan boys to guard the wagon whilst he, Cutjack, and Merch went inside to check it all out. Arya, of course, asks Gendry if they should go in after him because he's taken a bit, and she sees that Gendry has now donned his helm.
This is what makes me think that wasn't quite sexual at the beginning. Does this mean he just got off? Like, now that he's wearing the helm? Like, because she said at the end of that, but he never put it on.
Well, now at this
point, why is it on?
I think it's a whole different... Because now at this point, there isn't... Arya's scared here. She's ready for... a fight. She's ready for...
So do you think this is that the shield is showing that he's scared also?
I think at this point, it's that
the helm.
The helm is yeah, at this point, it's his anticipation of a fight as well. He's sort of along the same lines as her, where she's thinking, should we go in and help? But he says, Yoren said to wait, but she notices his voice sounds weird and looks, and he's got his helmet on. Clearly, he's expecting something if he's donning his helmet that he's never donned. And so I think it's meant to be that they're both along the same line of thinking, whereas Arya wants to rush in. Gendry's just kind of bracing himself and getting ready. Yeah. And so I think it isn't sexual at this point, but it's sort of showing that relationship
bond,
now. They're both of the same
reflection
thinking.
of their emotions there.
Before Yoren comes out, I think we'll convene our small council quick and do a little housekeeping stuff, and we'll let you then get back to the rest of the episode.
Word.
What up, guys?
Welcome to the small council.
So, once we're done polishing our horns, we're gonna let you guys know where you can reach us on all sorts of social medias and stuff. We've got a inductee at the end of this chapter that we'll be reading out, but if you would like to send us in an inductee, your thoughts, feelings, opinions, or whatever on the books, you can reach us on many different ways. I'm on Twitter at Carstark92. Nate is on Twitter at MannersWithout. That is also the Instagram handle.
Yeah. We also have a Facebook group. You can come on, talk to us, post funny stuff, all that shit.
Memes.
Oh my gosh. Facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. We also have our Patreon, which is very important. Patreon.com/Without Manners. Over there you can get some exclusive content and become a initiate.
Which as of this moment is just Windsor sample chapters, but we'll be putting out the remainder of those.
And you get to be a member of the Brotherhood.
And then we'll be putting some other things up there as well.
Other things
here
is
soon.
Definitely the case.
Then yeah.
Thanks
for that
well,
addition.
it's all me because I have to get my shit noted and stuff, so we're getting there.
But yeah, write us in. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, we love to hear from you guys. So.
Anyway, we'll let you get back to the episode.
Can we give our email first? Can we do that before they get back to their episode?
Sure.
Without Manners, Brotherhood@gmail.com, which is where most people tend to write us in anyway, and so we should probably make sure we get that.
I just try to give these people what we promise, which is our podcast, but you want to make it about yourself, so that's fine.
Get back to the episode, people.
Enjoy. So Yoren returns shortly later, coming out.
Shortly later.
A
little while later. No, I like that. Shortly later. That works. That's succinct.
Okay.
Succinct.
And he's carrying a small young girl. Could be no older than 2, Arya thinks.
Screeching.
Cutjack and Murch are carrying an old woman on a quilt being used as a sling. And she has one arm missing at the elbow. And the only thing she keeps saying over and over and over is, please, please, please. And so Yoren orders them to get clear a spot in the back of the wagon for the woman, and they put her there.
When they're carrying her out, though, I believe it's Rorge and Biter are sitting there laughing at her.
Yeah,
like fuck.
Yeah, this got really dark here. And I didn't pick up on it at first until Arya and Hot Pie's little exchange, and then I went back and reread it, and I was like, all right, yeah, that is pretty fucking. So clearly, just to paint it out, because I needed it sort of painted out for me.
That.
This village was raised by Sir Gregor, who knows?
Or what was it? Malister's out.
Armory Lorch.
Lorch, that's it. Yeah,
the Bloody Mummers.
Mm-hmm.
This village was raised, attacked, butchered by a group. Even it could have even been Northmen. Who knows? But this old woman and this young baby are the only 2 survivors, clearly, that Yoren could find.
That's what we're getting.
This woman had her arm cut off at the elbow, so she's in extreme pain, and she clearly, during the attack, was just begging, please, please, please.
Yeah, and it's probably locked that into trauma.
Whether that was for, the lives of her loved ones, herself, whatever. Yeah, so she's locked in this fucking traumatized state. And then there's just this child who is just screeching because, obviously, it's a baby, and its whole fucking village was just burned down.
Yeah, so Hot Pie approaches Arya at this point.
They put the old woman in the back, and she starts thrashing.
Yeah.
And still doing the please, please, please. And,
at this point, I think it's her begging for death.
What
Kill
a
me.
sight. Fucking A.
And they're kids still, 10, 11 years old. And so Hot Pie tells Arya, just so you know, like,
he says, I'm scared.
I'm fucking scared, bro.
And she's like, I am too. She admits to him, like,
me too.
This is
this is
fucked up.
Shit. Like, what?
And then Hot Pie puts a hand on her shoulder and says, you know, I never really kicked a boy all to pieces. I only ever sold me mommy's pies. And, like, I thought that was such a humanizing moment for Hot Pie. Like, and the growth of these
to
kids.
me, and it's funny because this is the moment when Samuel Tarly goes to fight all the boys in the yard and nobody will actually hit him.
Yeah.
It's this moment where John develops the friendship and actually becomes a member of the
I think Arya saying I'm scared too
it's
enough
very much
of
like
open
we're
up.
Actually friends.
Yeah.
We're in this together.
We're both
like,
two young kids.
Yeah,
and like he
let's be
lied.
friends.
He lied to seem strong and to be brave, but clearly it didn't really, like, no one's fucking fooled by it.
Right.
And then here in this moment, he straight up said, like, I'm fucking scared. And Arya was like, yeah, no, me too. And he was like, all right, cool, we're buddies now. And, like, it's just a nice...
Yeah.
So Arya decided to ride as far ahead of the wagons as was safe so she wouldn't have to hear the young girls crying or the woman's thrashing and pleading in the back of the wagon.
But that woman died that night.
Yeah.
And Cutjack and Gendry dug her a grave underneath a weeping willow. And Arya swears that she could hear as the fucking branches shift in the wind. Please.
Yeah, it was enough to make the hairs on the back of her neck stand up, and she had the desire to just run from the fucking gravesite.
Yeah, that's creepy, man.
Yeah.
Some creepy shit.
And so, I mean, I think essentially that's the plea of the small folk.
Yeah,
it's just this is the land itself just saying, like, please, fuck, like.
Well, and that we'll get at the very last line as well.
And so, yeah, they ended up stopping. Yoren ordered no fires that night, and when they had a very scarce meal, and they were drinking some stream water, and Lami had claimed that the stream water had an odd taste to it because that was the taste of bodies decaying in it upstream, which, in all likelihood, could be true. Yeah. And so Arya ended up drinking a little too much water that night to make up for the lack of food to fill her stomach, and she awoke in the pitch black. Her bladder was fit to bursting, and so she grabbed a needle and started for the trees.
But Hot Pie stops her.
Hot Pie stops her. She kind of tells him, I'm going to pee. And he's like, no, you're not. And
there's wolves out there.
Yeah, we learned that he's been feeling a little more braver since he's got the sword.
He's got his sword on his side now.
And yeah, there's wolves out there, and you can't do that. Yoren said we're all to stay together. And so she pretends to.
Oh, shit, wolves?
For true, wolves.
Oh, dang.
All right, I can hold it, and goes back to her bed. And then when Hot Pie leaves, she just skirts out the other direction.
Side of the camp, yeah.
Quiet as a shadow, of course. And she went twice as far this time to avoid any of the sentries. And so she was peeing, fucking pants around her ankles when she heard a rustling. And at first she thinks, shit, it's Hot Pie.
Yeah, he followed me.
Freaks out.
Son of a bitch.
And then she sees eyes.
Lots of eyes.
Lots of eyes. Reflecting the moonlight. A whole pack of them. She counts at least 12.
12 fucking wolves.
And out came one, padded up to her, and stared at her, teeth bared.
A male, I think it even said.
Yeah, a male.
She had said.
And Arya was shitting a brick, and she's like Arya, Hot Pie's gonna fucking think it's hilarious that I died out here getting chomped on by wolves because he told me. But then they all turn off and run off into the dark.
Yes.
This one bares its teeth at her, growls, and then just turns and...
Now, we've heard rumors of the giant wolf pack in the area of the gods.
Wolf pack is a little old place where we can get together. Wolf pack! That's what I was getting at. That's what I should have led with.
Yeah, that's where you should have gone.
But yeah, so...
Clearly they recognize Nymeria on her. That she's touched by Nymeria, shares some kind of relationship, right? Is that what
I'm guessing? Yeah.
Because there's no other reason that they. I mean, unless they just weren't hungry. They're just like, yeah, what? Fucking. Oh,
I mean, we know at this point that it's been about 2 or 3 days since Yoren has said that they were near the God's Eye. So they've traveled quite a distance near the God's Eye, which is roughly close to where Nymeria was released. So yeah, I got to assume...
And where the giant wolf pack is,
I would have to assume that these are a part of that wolf pack, and they're like, oh, this is not like that chick Nymeria was talking about, like her bestie. And so Arya returned to camp very quickly, and she joins Yoren in the back of the wagon where he's sharpening his dirk, and she tells him that there's wolves out there, and that they scared her. And I like his comment because he goes, seems to me your kind was fond of wolves. And she tells him that.
Dire wolves, not the real
There's
kind.
It's
like, dude, Jesus. Dire wolves are fucking 6 times the size of the little guy.
Yeah, she thinks specifically Nymeria was a dire wolf. And then she gets sad thinking of Nymeria.
And what Nymeria could have prevented if she were there in the city.
Yeah, because her and Jory had to throw rocks at her to make sure Joffrey wouldn't kill her. And she thinks Nymeria would have made sure that nothing had ever happened to my father.
Let me tell you what popped into my head during this was the image of every single dancing lesson she had, just the goodest girl, Nymeria, sitting on the side watching fucking Arya. So that way she could be a badass water dancing direwolf.
That's just the saddest image in my life. Because Nymeria would have been sitting
like chilling every single lesson, soaking it in.
And she says Nymeria wouldn't have let them kill my father. And Yoren reminds her that orphan boys have no fathers. And Arya at this point wishes that she was just home. She's been trying to be strong and fierce as a wolverine, but sometimes she just felt like a scared little girl after all. Which, like, no shit. Like, fuck.
And Yoren he starts saying that, it probably would have been just safer to leave you in the city. Leave all of you in the city. Everybody. And she's like, I don't care, like, how much safer it would be. I want to go the fuck home. I don't want to be here.
And then we get, I think, the root of Yoren's anger here. Like, where, like, this, I think, sums up sort of why he was this cloud of black anger, this one. Because he says, been bringing men to the wall for close on 30 years now. All that time, I only lost 3. An old man died of a fever, a city boy got snake bit taking a shit, and one fool tried to kill me in my sleep and got a red smile for his trouble. 3 in 30 years. A ship may have been wiser. A clever man, he would have gone by ship, but me, 30 years I've been taking the King's Road. And so, the 30 years he's been doing this loop of around and up, and now it's starting to change to the point where it's enough that he's noticing where they're getting run out of cornfields for trying to eat.
So 30 years, yo.
Yeah.
That's before Robert's rebellion. He's been doing this and
it's now that it's changing to the point where it's pissing him off.
Now there's a problem. Now they're
unsafe on the road.
After 30 years, he went through fucking the Mad King's rule. He went through the entire war with Robert's rebellion, and has never had problems traveling as a man of the Night's Watch until this fucking journey.
So he tells her that you need to go to sleep now, boy. Hear me? And end scene. But Arya tried, but as she lay under her thin blanket, she could hear in the distance the wolves howling, and another sound, fainter, no more than a whisper on the wind, that might have been screaming. Like, what the fuck is that?
So it's the countryside burning. It's all the I think that she is hearing that.
So I had a fucking tinfoil for the end here of what if she's not hearing anything, but what she is hearing is the song of the earth, the language of the children of the forest, that song of the earth. Like, this is the legit, the
earth is screaming.
Because she's got this sort of preternatural tie that she's actually hearing the land crying out and screaming.
Well, I mean, and with the tree, we
get so much symbolism through prophecy, of the land of Westeros itself getting raped and getting defiled and getting just fucked up by the events that are occurring. So part of me was what if she is hearing the wolves, and then in the wolf song she's hearing the song of the earth, the children of the forest language that's just screaming out in pain right now near the God's Eye. But that was Arya 3.
Arya
and so
3,
you got an inductee for that one?
Fuck. So it's between 2. I'm gonna give it to. It's gonna go with. I'm giving it to Hot Pie, because he's in the same, but he's every one of us if we were in that fucking
he's
situation,
not a lord.
man. He's just this little fat kid that wants to fucking sell some cakes and pies and be like... And he got caught stealing, probably because he was hungry, because he's a little fat kid. And I can't tell you how many times I stole when I was a little kid.
You were a little
mainly
food stealer.
Yeah, mainly food. Cookies and brownies and shit off the counters and windowsills because people are letting cool and
Popeye's
shit,
a scared kid too.
And so I really liked him in this chapter because he did do that, opening up that and then not just the I'm scared, but the comforting, putting his hand on Arya.
I never kicked a man to pieces.
Listen, I'm just a regular kid too, not realizing that Arya actually has killed people. At this point.
And it's all the hand of the king's daughter.
Right, but. Yeah, so I'm gonna give it to Hot Pie instead of the other one, and if you don't pick him, I'll say.
Yeah, so I was between two. It was either gonna be Hot Pie or my other one, which I'll do, which is Yoren. And Yoren, just because of we made the okay boomer joke. You made it with him, but I really like the Arya Yoren dynamic because we're getting the new versus the old view. This is really all Arya's known. She saw the King's Road peaceful one time on her way south, but even then it was amongst the Starks and the Lannisters and Baratheon, so things were tense there. Now going north, she's seeing the aftermath of declarations of war between houses Stark and Lannister, and Yoren is here to say how back in the day I'd be feasting every single night on my way up to
Winterfell to Dorne.
People, I'd be staying in feather beds. People would be honored. I'd be sitting at the high table, fucking pheasant, duck, stew.
We've got it. We've seen it with Yoren in Winterfell.
With Tyrion and Tyrion traveling with him a little bit. I love the difference of this is the way it is now versus this is the way it was. And Yoren just...
Well, and I think that's actually important that you mentioned that, seeing Tyrion travel down with him, showing that difference in what he's used to versus what's happening. And so we do get that direct comparison as to what he's accustomed to.
But then we also get to see how capable he is because he's so used to feasting from Dorne to Winterfell, but... when the shit gets tough, he made the absolute right call avoiding that camp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck that noise. We ain't going. We can't identify him. We ain't going toward him. So I just think Yoren is fucking killing it in this reread, and I never really appreciated him for.
Yeah, it's gonna be a sad day soon.
Yeah, it is. Days. But those are our inductees.
Yeah, so I was honorable mention to Jack and Hagar for.
He was the other one.
For keeping his manners when he's in the little cage.
Yeah, thank you for the treat.
Yeah, and recognizing that it was a fucking treat.
So, we got an inductee for Arya 3 from our favorite French fry in France, Julian. And he says, I will be honest, I fell asleep one night reading this chapter, and I almost did again tonight. It's a short one. Anyway, I hope you guys will make it sound more interesting than it was reading for me the first time. I like the paragraph where she encounters the wolf and only thinks about how Hot Pie would make fun of her when she's dead half-eaten. Weird thing to think when one is facing death. If I had to name an inductee, it would be Gendry for wearing his badass helm. Go Gendry. Plus Nate inducted him last time, so it can't be a bad choice, right?
That's right.
Valate Bordarius. And then he says, P.S. There are fucking Davos chapters.
Yeah, and we appreciate you writing in, as always. Gendry's a great one.
I hated that Valar Doharius, so...
Because the Valar Bordarius?
Yeah, Valate
Bordaris.
Because, that one, I wasn't...
It's confusing.
I don't like
it's hard.
it.
It's
but
yeah,
thank you, Julian. Gendry's just killing it. Gendry's the bull, man.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe now it's more of a sex symbol, the helm, but... I don't know. That's just
maybe for you. I just still don't quite see it as a full-on sex symbol. Even as
I think
the
it's
metaphorical,
more the symbol of Arya and Gendry's sort of relationship with each other.
Yeah, I get that. That I definitely agree.
Because with. At first he just was the bull to her.
Yeah,
and then now he's Gendry, but the bull's helm is this significant thing that she attaches to him and. I don't know. Whatevs. There it is.
But yeah, so you know how to get a hold of us. Write in if you want your own inductees.
So, next chapter, though. About that next one.
Dude.
About that next one. We're going to be reading for the first time ever on the podcast.
My man!
Davos 1. And so that is fucking exciting. Davos gets his very first POV chapter. And then after Davos, we're going right to another very first, which is Theon one. I hate the character like the
good
story.
thing is Theon's point of view chapters are always fucking
Yo, Pike's
great.
a cool place. I really like going to Pike.
It doesn't matter
Islands.
whether it's in Clash or whether it's in Feast or Dance, wherever the fuck his point of view chapters are, they're always in great fucking spots. The shit you see with this son of a bitch, he deserves everything.
And then continuing that trend after Theon won, we have Daenerys won, and so we're gonna be going
Daenerys won.
1, 1, and 1.
From Clash
So we'll
of
be getting
Kings.
Dragonstone, we'll be getting Pike, and then we'll be getting.
Where the fuck is she now?
She will be heading to Karth.
Dang.
So right now, I believe she's in the Red Waste.
Right, because she just had the rebirth.
Yeah.
So she's gonna.
We're gonna pick up with Danny. And so thank you guys for listening. Thank you for joining us. Join us next time for Davos 1. Send us your inductees for that. Theon 1 and Danny 1, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Follow the Harris.
Peace.